Hi, Cassie Jordan here with Reline Solutions. I'm joined by Diana Worthen, who is a professional engineer, and I'm going to let Diana introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Diana Worthen. I am a professional engineer licensed in several states, especially in the West. I'm with Cascade Trenchless Consulting, which is an engineering consulting business that I've just recently launched.
Thanks for joining me today, Diana. So Diana joins me because we are going to be highlighting a bunch of amazing women this whole week of women in construction. So she's been willing to sit down with me and let me pick her brain on a few things. And then we can obviously highlight her as one of the amazing women that are in our industry this week. So as a woman, not to say that there are not a lot of women engineers, but there's definitely not as many as there are males. What really kind of led you into getting into engineering?
Well, that's a great question. I grew up in a family that did a lot of, kind of like DIY projects, and I have a younger brother, and we just kind of all did them as a family. So I grew up with no really expectations of gendered tasks, particularly. And I was looking for a real practical career and college major. So, and I also have a grandfather who was a civil engineer, so I think that maybe gave me the idea originally. And I took a engineering literally 101 class in my freshman year of college, and I liked it, so I just stuck with it, and it's been a really great choice.
Nice. So what brought you onto the trenchless side of engineering?
Well, I started out as a geotechnical engineer. In college, I specialized all my electives in geotechnical, which is soils engineering. And I did that for a few years. And then when I moved jobs I started working at CH2M, who's now owned by Jacobs Engineering. The position that they had advertised as a geotech position was really geotech and trenchless, and I just started learning from there and really enjoyed it. And so I've really steered into it hard, full-time trenchless. And it's just such a varied industry. There's always something new happening. There's a wide variety of different technologies to learn about, and they're always innovating. So it's an exciting side of the engineering industry to be in.
Right. And what's your main focus? I know when you and I kind of connected, you gave me a little snippet, but what do you primarily, would you say, Cascade Trenchless focuses on?
Cascade Trenchless focuses especially in new installation trenchless. So trenchless kind of has two halves to it. There's the rehab side, which is like pipe bursting and CIPP, you'll hear a lot. And then
Slip
there's
lining is my industry.
slip lining, of course, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe I should re yeah, CIP, slip lining, CIPP and slip
Yeah.
lining. And then the new installation side is just like it sounds. It's a brand new installation. So auger boring is a popular choice, or HGD is very popular right now as well. So, and I specialize particularly in that new installation side.
Okay. Now you're the owner of Cascade Trenchless, correct?
Correct. Yes.
So you are a one-owned business like me.
It's so exciting.
I know it is exciting. So what made you want to start your own business in engineering and consulting and getting in this industry and kind of leaving now Jacobs, but getting kind of breaking off on your own?
I've been working for mid-size and large companies for a long time, and I was ready to jump into the small business side for something new and exciting, and just looking for a good wide variety of projects and people to work with. I've been working with a lot of really wonderful people throughout my career, and owning my own business and consulting with other civil engineering firms and contractors will just allow me to work with even more interesting people. I love meeting new and interesting people and learning something new from everyone I meet. So that's really the biggest driver.
Yeah. So have you found it a benefit to be a woman-owned business in this industry?
So far I have. I'm brand new, so I'm working on my first contracts right now, and I have really found it to be a benefit, um, especially because I'm a qualified engineer. I'm experienced, and I'm really good at what I do. Um, and oftentimes companies are really looking to use woman-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, and
Mhm,
because bids that they're working on will often require it as well.
mhm.
And a lot of companies really believe in it, of course, as well. So they're looking for that, and then when they find those firms that are especially qualified, they get excited, and so that's a really good fit. So I think
Good.
overall it will be a really great benefit. Yeah.
So do you have a DBE status as well?
It's in process. I've got the application and they're working on it, so it
Yeah.
should be here soon, hopefully the next week or two.
I'll tell you what, trying to get a woman-owned status is not easy. They want like your firstborn child.
A lot of paperwork. Yeah.
It is a lot of paperwork. I have been drowning in it since I started my company and I'm still not done. Um, so let's talk a little bit about the trenchless industry. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'd love to hear, since you've been in it, what you think has grown or changed the most. I don't know how many years you've been doing trenchless, but
10 or 12 years now.
okay.
Yeah. Well, what has grown and changed? Oh, it's really interesting to talk to a couple of contractors I know, especially who've been in the HDD business in particular since its beginning. And that HDD started with the oil field industry,
Right.
but and I do a lot of HDD. I like it especially because it's kind of a little bit different. Um, so talking about HDD in particular, there's been a lot of advances there, I think, because it's a particularly new-ish technology, and they've really expanded the range, like length range, and also diameter range. It's
Mhm.
grown. I can't speak to the exact numbers, but I know that there have been projects now that have achieved over 10,000 feet in HDD, and that's like, over almost 2 miles. So
Yeah.
that's a huge HDD, and when I started, I think the limit was around 3 or 4,000 feet. So that's big. And there's lots of little changes too that are always happening. Like I worked on a project, for example, that used a vacuum technology along with auger. It's not auger boring. They used vacuum instead of an auger bore on a bore head in Bend, Oregon. To remove the spoils from the tunnel, and that was a new and innovative way to pull the spoils out for that technology. And that's a lot of these things are contractor driven. It's just people who have a lot of experience going, I wonder if I tried this, if it would work a little better for this application. Steering heads as well have really come a long ways, especially for auger boring. There's a couple of manufacturers who really specialize in making advancements to auger boring, because traditionally it's an unsteered method. So you just set up your line and grade before you start, and then educated guess style hope you get to the right location at the end. And usually it's pretty close, but if they can add a little steering capability, it always helps make sure you hit your target right on line and grade at the end. So I've seen those steering capabilities come a long ways too.
Yeah. That's kind of a different world than I'm used to in trenchless, but that's very interesting. So if you had one piece of advice for a woman entering this industry, whether it's like me, I'm a distribution consultant where I come in and look at projects and recommend different products, because I don't rep just one product, I rep multiple products, so that there's not one product that fits all jobs. Or like if they wanted to come into engineering, or they wanted to go into the actual trades and actually own a construction company, what advice would you give them?
I would say just go out there and go for it. Don't
Yeah.
be intimidated. Um, and learn as much as you can, and especially get out into the field as much as you can. Like
Mhm.
as an engineer, sometimes you don't have as much time in the field as maybe you'd like. So take any opportunity to go out on construction sites, or like I come from a geotechnical background where we take soil samples, drilling
Mhm.
for soil samples. So any opportunity you have to get out into the field is where I have absolutely learned the most in my career. I would highly recommend that. And yeah, not to be intimidated, I guess, is the
Yeah.
biggest one. And take a learning. I think they call it like a growth mindset or something. Like always be looking for what you're learning, and don't expect. Everybody knows when you're the young engineer on the job site that you maybe don't know a ton, and so you don't make it up and try to impress people. Just use what you do know, and ask a ton of questions and learn everything you can. So I've learned a lot that way.
What's one thing that you learned early in your career, either that stuck with you, or maybe you learned it, sorry, maybe I should reword this. Maybe you learned it later in your career and wish you'd learned it earlier, or you learned it early and it really stuck with you.
One thing that I learned from a woman that I worked with pretty briefly, actually, early on, it's just something she said to me, and I've seen it since. I think it's a common piece of advice, but to always sit at the table, like get to the table. Don't, and this stuck with me, I think, especially because I was working in an office where we had a conference room where we frequently had meetings, and uh, a lot of these meetings had more people than there was really space for. So there were a lot of chairs around the edge of the room, including as well as the chairs at the table that was in the middle of the room. And I started noticing that literally a lot of women would come in and sit on one of the side chairs along the wall and not at the table when there were still spaces available at the table. So I really stuck with me, I think, because I saw that real literal example too. But you take it in any aspect that you can think of to sit at the table and be present and take up
Mm-hmm.
space. This is to this, like the second part of your question, and it's related. I Taking up space is something that I'm always still working on, actually, really, but something I've learned later in my career that I wish that I had figured out earlier.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's great advice. I'd actually say the same thing, like be a big presence in the room if you can. And that goes back to what you said earlier with the intimidation is, I think as women in a male dominated industry, sometimes we kind of sit back and observe instead of push forward and just, even if we don't know the answers, feel free to ask the questions and don't be intimidated, because it's not like every guy that's come to a job site, he had every answer either. He learned from someone, whether it was a woman or a male. So I like that. I think that's really good advice for women in this industry.
Yeah,
Because we tend to sit back.
it can happen. Yeah, and then I mean, women can be both sort of more reserved or more outgoing, just like men can. And I actually am kind of a more reserved person, just generally. So it's compounded, I think, as a woman. And so, yeah, especially I guess if you're a more reserved personality, to I don't know if I really like the fake till you make it advice all the time, but that's one place where fake it till you make it, I think, is really effective.
Yeah.
Like, go out there and just pretend you're outgoing. Just try it for a
Yeah.
day. And
Yeah, I like it. You have some good ones to go with. The fake it till you make it, get to the table. Well, thank you so much, Diana. If you're okay with it, we'll share your contact information with everybody. So if anybody has questions or projects, it sounds like Diana covers a lot of states in the Northwest, and can help you with any of your engineering projects. I personally, hopefully, I can start working with you on some more slip lining and pipe repair projects.
I would love to.
Get you to be more on the rehab side and not all the new direct bury.
I guess, yes, I would love that.
Awesome. Well, she's one of the amazing women in constructions we're going to highlight this week. Thank you so much, Diana, and I will talk to you soon.
It's been my pleasure. I'm so honored to take part. Thanks so much.